So, Wakili, before we went on that short break, you're talking about the, the president warning Kenyans not to elect thieves. And I understand the president has a lot of access to intelligence briefs.
Yes.
It seems like he knows there are thieves who are going to vie. Why not arrest them? Why not have them arrested?
You know, I said the other day that 2022 will be a unique election process. We shall have patriots on one side and thieves on the other side. And as we can see, it is evident that thieves are conglomerating and having some union and holy communion.
Which
from
thieves?
You know, of course, when you see somebody, and I'm not saying he's a thief, but he has been charged with theft of public resources, someone like Gachagua. When you going to Karen, when you see someone like Sonko whom we impeached for having embezzled public resources and even taking his daughter to Hoover over the years of New York, conglomerating on one particular side. And that side is very comfortable, and that side does not caution that particular person. And that does not even make attempts to dissociate himself with that particular person. Then we know where thieves will be. When we are saying that, you know, you are holding, there is a question of Kimorel and Orel. Then you tell us it was only 7 billion, when the DPP is saying that it was 19 billion actually on the papers today. When we see somebody who is not able to answer where KPA land went, where Western Hotel is sitting on, when you see somebody who is not able to answer what happened to the Hustlers jet, when you see somebody who is not able to tell us what happened to the Mutesi's land, and is comfortably
Wakili, I'm going to cut you short there.
Yeah.
My question was...
I'm coming to that.
Okay, let me just simplify it this way. My question was, the president has access to this, we have the law. Why not stop these thieves early and then present Kenyans...
The president can only caution and urge Kenyans not to elect thieves. Because the president is not holding the voting rights of every Kenyan, that he can actually cast all the votes on behalf of Kenyans. So he's just simply telling us, on that side which you see you guys is a conglomeration of thieves. So don't elect them and start calling our institutions to order to remove them again. Don't give us a lot of hard work to remove them from office when you guys you can stop voting for them.
Okay,
That's the message.
Thank you. Gloria, react to that.
It's funny because I like that he said that, because the president does not have all the votes, I'm glad that he actually recognizes that the president does not have all the votes.
But that's a fact.
And he can, he can say what he wants to say. You're talking about thieves and saying, and even trying to mention, Gachagua, saying because he has a case in court and this and that. We can go over the list of ODM MPs who have cases in court. We can go over the list of ODM MPs, for instance, Babu Wino, who actually practically shot a DJ in a club. We can go over the list of all the allegations placed on Raila Odinga, including the maize scandal. And then we can say, maybe when the president was saying, let's not elect thieves, he actually meant, let's not elect Raila Odinga. So, for me...
Or rather, let's not have elections in
or at all, yes. So for me, those kind of arguments are to me, they're very minimalist. It's like, first of all, they have decided, he said, we have on one hand the patriots and on the other hand the criminals. So just because William Ruto has decided to represent those who have no voices, the poor, those at the bottom of the food chain, those who actually have never been represented in terms of policy and governance in this country, those who do not have anyone to stand up for them, those who don't have names like Kenyatas and Odingas, those who've never come from families that have, inherited chunks and chunks of land because they supposedly were the leaders of the freedom fighters. When William Ruto actually decides, I'm going to speak for these people, I'm going to represent these people, these are the people that I want to bring to the forefront, the mama bogas and so and so, then someone comes and says, on one hand, we have criminals. You know what they tell me? For me, that is a person saying that they have criminalized the poor, that they have criminalized the underserved, that they have criminalized those who are actually in situations that are helpless. You have actually looked at a mama mboga na umesema wewe ni mwizi just because you do not come from a family that has a name like Kenyatta. So for me, it's actually unfair. And when earlier on, my co-panelist said that we have to look at issues of Kenya holistically, because where do we want to be as a country? We want to be in a place where if Raila Odinga was actually seriously pushing for Azimio la Umoja, you know, he would understand that Umoja means bringing those with names like Odingas, those with big families like Kenyatas, and the hustlers together. Okay. Not actually putting them aside and saying the patriots, because my forefather was the first president of this country, and my father was also a president of this country, and me, I was born in State House, so those are the patriots. And then the poor on the other side, and you're calling them criminals. It's very, very unfortunate. So ladies and gentlemen, I want us to I want us to talk about politics, but there's an issue that my director keeps telling me that we can't let this go.
Yes.
Just kidogo too. I want to hear your views very briefly. And I think I'll allocate 1 minute to each to each of you. There's a law that locks Mpango wa Kando out of inheritance. That is on page 3 of the standard. A minute, each of you, and then we go back to politics.
Yes.
What do you think about that law?
I think that's a law that is coming to settle a lot of unsettled dust. And because we are practitioners, we know what happens in the succession matters. Most of these succession matters are actually convoluted by this Mpango wa Kando when they come claiming what does not actually belong to them. So now the law is very well pronounced that you cannot claim unless you undergo through the process of formalizing your marriage. And remember, we do not enact laws in isolation. When we chose to amend the Succession Act Cap 160, you should also appreciate the Marriage Act 2015. The Marriage Act 2015 is the one that has institutionalized the institution of marriage. Because if you look at article, I think 48, I think that's something, about, I can't remember the actual article. It has provided that the family is, 51, the family is a fundamental unit of every particular society. So if we do not have cohesiveness of the society, of the family, we cannot have the cohesiveness of the society. And so even having the Azimio of La Umoja without a cohesive society cannot be achieved. So that's why we've said that cohesiveness begins by uniting the family. Okay. That's where Azimio begins. And Azimio means that we have to have such kind of laws that will kick out outsiders and slave queens from coming to disintegrate the Azimio in that particular family. That's what we simply
Your 1 minute is over. Gloria, 1 minute.
It's funny that slave queens have to be thrown into the mix. By the way, those are Kenyans. We also in the Hustler Nation.
That is the law.
We recognize them. So the slave queens and the slave kings, they should not feel that this was against them. I think what was happening here is, again, this is a very, I would say, patriarchal amendment, where the man wants to eat his cake and have it. So I want to have several mistresses, but I want to make sure that in the event that I become incapacitated or I die, you know, I also safeguard just the institution of marriage. And that's a good thing, actually. And you know, this is the difference between men and women. Men, they push for their agenda. They go out, they push for amendments and laws, and they say, you know, maneno ya secret. For me, first of all, anyone who keeps you a secret, you in itself, you don't exist. So you cannot come to even claim anything. You're a secret. You don't exist. Nobody knows about you. And the few who know about you do not know the legitimacy about you. But the challenge I want to put out to our legislators in parliament, the likes of Millie Odhiambo and the women who are there, men are pushing their agenda. So I think in the interest of Azimio la Umoja and bringing our families together, we need an amendment bill on that Marriage Act to actually legalize polyandry.
Okay. Wow.
That way, we can also safeguard our interests. We can also safeguard
the activism that we have in this country. You know, that's a very serious allegation.
No, on a very light.
We are in a society that is well structured.
She is entitled. No,
I am entitled
to her opinion.
Yes.
But she cannot dissolve the society from the structure.
I cannot even finish.
Let her finish.
But we're in a structured society.
I'll give you 30 more seconds to react to that.
That structured society that he's pushing, that we are in a structured society, this amendment is actually an introduction of a new structure.
So
and what I'm saying is because the men have realized they need to safeguard their marriages, and that is actually, I 100% support that, because I actually don't think if you're a secret and you never participated as an active wife who's known and whatever, you should be entitled to anything. But I'm also saying in the spirit of Azimio la Umoja, in bringing our families together, because we know that the issue of the polygamous issue is there, because we know
know that even we have a very respectable leaders of society down to the community who have multiple spouses, some in hiding women. I'm saying that because we have that opportunity to structure our community, I don't see why we should not push for polyandry so that everyone is recognized.
That's and I want us to move on. I really want us to move on, but 20 seconds or less.
Yeah, today we shall legalize polyandry, as she says. Tomorrow, an activist will say, let's legalize lesbianism, let's legalize gayism, and then we will say, you gays who are downtrodden, you lesbians who are downtrodden, you prostitutes who are downtrodden, you belong to the hustler nation. Come, we are going to take care of you. That thing is a very bad.
It's
a very bad trade.
We have the Bill of Rights, and one of the Bill of Rights is that you cannot discriminate against gender.
But the law also
ladies and gentlemen, let us go.
Issues of lesbianism.
Okay,
you cannot be saying because I'm a lesbian, I need to be...
No, but they also have rights.
But how does lesbianism
not in this country. They don't have rights in this country.
How does lesbianism
has no rights for lesbianism?
No. How does
okay, let's move on to politics now.
When you do something unlawful.
Let's move on. You're getting him agitated. So I don't know why.
Page 6 of the Daily Nation. Ruto vows to help 14 million listed on CRB. Gloria, you're saying the deputy president, is concerned about the state of affairs of the hustlers, as you call them. Is that really, realistic? 14 million people listed on the CRB.
This issue of CRB is first of all, we have to appreciate that as a country, we even have a credit reference bureau. Because I can tell you, as we are here now in studio, Ghana is trying to have a CRB. In its own. They actually have realized, how do we know who are the good, people who have good credit scores and what. So first we have to appreciate that we have CRB. I'm not of the opinion that it should be completely thrown out. Having 14 million people listed in CRB, we need to now go back. How did we get here? We have the mobile app lenders. We have, the Fuliza kind of, I call them institutionalized Shylocks. And at the end of the day, it is that Kenyans are trying to get access to capital. Young people are trying to get quick access to capital that does not require them to give security, that does not require them to give, pieces of land. Some of us don't come from big families who inherited, were part of the successive acts of land grabbing from independence. We don't have land. So when you ask us to bring title deeds, we don't have title deeds. So what do we do when we want capital for a small business? We run very quickly to those mobile lenders, and that actually, because of the high interest rates, because of the Shylock nature of it, we end up listed on the CRB. Now, what as the Hustler Nation movement, and I am a member of UDA and a very strong supporter of the ideologies under it. What we're trying to say is, how did we get here, and how can we remove our youth from this kind of, it's like from prison? How do we get them out of this? And if, the title is a bit misleading because it's more about creating job opportunities and giving access to capital to young people without requiring so much from them. So it's more about saying we have Uwezo Fund, we have Youth Fund, yes. But to go to Youth Fund, you still need some level of, you need security. You need an asset, a logbook, land, something. And Youth Fund is supposed to address access to capital to these young people who actually don't have the things that you're requiring. When you go to Uwezo Fund, one of the barriers that we have with Uwezo Fund, if I as an individual actually want to go and seek a loan, or a grant from Uwezo Fund, I can't as an individual. I'll be sent back and told, endeni mshikane wakumi ama 20, alafu mkuje kama then how do you hold that group accountable? So the issue of saying Ruto vows to help 14 million is basically saying, when he is in office, when he actually gets in there, he understands the issues that are getting these 14 million people listed on CRB, and we're going to start working on it. How? By ensuring that we have access to capital. How? People ask, where is he going to get the money to give this youth? We are saying we are going to expand the tax bracket by recognizing, as much as people don't want to recognize, by recognizing that there exist industries that have not, small-scale industries that have actually not been organized in a way that you can tax them. The borders, I ask, how do you tax them? There are millions of bodabodas out there. If you are even just to tax them, a percentage of whatever it is there. But before you tax them, you have to ensure that their environments are thriving. You have to give a service. So by expanding the tax bracket of those small traders and organizing those small traders and putting policies that push for the, building of their businesses, then we can get money to come and say, hey, anyone who's looking for capital, we have youth fund, it operates like this, but we are not asking for capital, we are going to do ABCD, just reorganizing that space.
Sawa. Wakili, I can see you're itching to respond.
Oh yes, because, we must...
Is it realistic?
It's realistic in terms of policy. It's something that is doable.
Okay.
But it's not realistic in terms of saying, I'm going to pay all this money for you people. The kind of the help that Ruto has told us he is vowing to do, he has not told us whether it is going to be in terms of policy, or he has said that it's going to in terms of him paying for these particular individuals. Because at the end of the day, whether we formulate policies tomorrow that will probably address the issues he has raised, this debt will still be paid.
Yeah.
The policies will not get them out of this debt. It will not be an instant coffee approach that the policies that will allegedly be done by Ruto will pull them immediately. The policy will be there, but the debt will be paid.
Yeah.
It is then unrealistic for him to say that he's going to pay the debt because currently CBK has rated this debt at 351 billion. So you're simply saying you'll go to the Kenyan economy, the exchequer, take 351 billion and pay for the CRBs. When we are already having a problem in allocating money to the county governments, we are allocating about we had a problem of allocating 361 billion to our county governments. Then you are saying you will take that money when you're not even able to meet up the budgetary for the counties and pay to the CRBs. That is wishful thinking. It's a populist idea. It's only meant to capture votes. But in a much more expounded process, this idea of saying, oh, Mama Mboga, oh, everybody has to come to the tax brackets, or even those guys who are downtrodden must come to the tax brackets, could it have been the idea or the reason why somebody went to a place in Makueni, needless to mention, and gave 1 million to a particular group of individuals whom I'll not mention.
Let's not go there.
In the spirit of trying to uplift all the businesses, because abu kazi ni kazi. I mean, we must have policies that...
There are places in the developed world
the
where
commercial sex workers, let's talk about
it is illegal.
There are people who exist. There are people who exist.
Let me just handle this. Let me handle this. There are places, there are developed countries that recognize that trade.
But it's not here. But it is not Kenya. Kenya outlaws prostitution. I did not mention.
But the question, my question was simple.
Please allow me.
But this is the one who has brought these issues of prostitution.
No. Allow me to interject there. First of all, you can speak. They are called commercial sex workers. The commercial sex workers, as much as the trade is illegal in this country, they exist. And what William Ruto was actually trying to say is that we recognize that you exist, but you shouldn't, because you've been forced into that industry. And so because you shouldn't exist in that industry, what we are trying to say is there are other ways for you to earn a living.
That was not the message.
You cannot say that was not the message when I'm actually speaking here, and maybe I can confidently say at this point I'm holding brief.
Proceed.
It is recognizing...
Holding brief for
the Deputy President, William Ruto. It is recognizing that they are Kenyans in different spectrums, they exist. Those that exist in illegal industries, you have to recognize they exist. How did we get here? How did we get to a point where commercial sex work is actually the next option for any man or woman who thinks sasa nimefikiwa na kazi? So the money that he gave actually was not about going to expand and scale up commercial sex work. No, it was actually to say that perhaps you're here because you've told yourself in 3 months you are going to be a commercial sex worker, then get yourself out of there through the capital that you are gaining. No, he might be laughing, but these are the realities on the ground. That there are people who actually are like, let me go and do this commercial sex work for 3 months, I earn this much money, save it, and then set up my kiosk. Those people exist. So instead of shutting your eye because you were born in State House and saying commercial sex workers don't exist, I've never seen them, I've never walked in Koinange, I've never entered a supermarket, so I don't know. Instead of doing that, is you recognize that they exist, ask yourself why they exist, and then try to get them out of there. And that money was to provide capital for businesses outside of commercial
Okay, so
sector.
Gloria,
Munene,
on page 7,
may I have
page 7.
may I have some rejoinder?
Okay.
We should not
Very
invite
briefly,
people
because I
in
want
this
us-
country to think that because William Ruto gave that money to prostitutes, that prostitution
Commercial
is...
sex workers.
They are called commercial sex workers.
I mean, I don't have a name. Allow me to use the name that I know.
No.
No,
You
that
know,
is a
now
very,
this-
it's abusive.
no,
It's
no,
You know,
abusive. It's
prostitution, there's nothing called commercial...
commercial sex workers. Please,
it's
can you
commercial
be in
sex work.
order? They are called commercial sex
And
workers.
I think now I'll have to, put an end to that subject. I won't even allow you to have that
is
agenda
it
because now
legalized? Is it legal for you to be a prostitute or a commercial sex worker?
Let me ask you this: on page 7 of the Standard, we have a very interesting story there. As we wind up, there's a fresh twist as Group seeks to have Karugu ousted. That is Caroline Karugu, who's the deputy of Governor Mutahi Kahiga, Nyeri Governor. Wakili, I just want us to talk about this thing about the politics of Mount Kenya and why a lot of focus is on that region. It's as if it's the only region that is going to the elections. Kindly, very briefly.
Munene, when you invite me here,
Okay.
you must allow me to give my views.
Yes, and I will.
Because,
I will. But you see, we have rules. We have rules. We are also bound by media ethics.
I agree. So
and that
does
is why
the law outlaw prostitution? Because the law,
commercial sex
the
workers.
penal code speaks
Wakili-
about prostitution,
Commercial
not
sex
about
workers.
commercial
Wakili, we are
sex
talking
workers.
about politics, Mount Kenya
But
politics.
I'm still there.
There's a lot
on.
of heat in Mount Kenya right
I
now as we
wanted to
speak,
be- yeah,
and that is the reason
agreed.
why I've asked you about the story on page 7
I'll
of
answer
the
that.
Standard. Kindly, let's talk about the political
agree.
heat. If you want to have that rejoinder, kindly,
I
and
don't want to have the rejoinder because I've clarified on what the law says. It speaks about prostitution, not commercial sex workers. Now,
Okay.
on the question of the Mount Kenya region, what did you ask?
You're so focused on commercial sex workers.
No,
you
it's
forgot
okay.
about the
Wakili,
question.
there are 74 petitioners who accused Nyeri Deputy Governor of abuse of office. And this is just
Yes.
one isolated incident. There's been a lot of heat on the politics of Mount Kenya. We've had people saying that, to climb Mount Kenya, you have to go through a certain person. And my question was, why so much interest on Mount Kenya politics and, the general elections? The whole country is going for the elections. Why, in your opinion, why is there so much, focus on that region?
I think the focus and the heat is being generated by the misconception that Mount Kenya region will not have a leader come 2022 and that their votes are up for grab by all Tom, Dick and Harry. That is the kind of the excitement that is being created and the perception. And that's why you can see there is clear efforts to discredit all the Mount Kenya leaders. They began by discrediting President Kenyatta. Now they have gone as low as even trying to twist a person of the caliber of the deputy governor of Nyeri. You can see the other day when they were in Meru, they hurled insult at Governor Kiraitu Moronge. They hurled insult at Governor Nyoro. So there is a concerted effort to make sure that all those voices of Mount Kenya region are silenced, so that the people of Mount Kenya region will not have any person to give them directions come 2022. So that then somebody can come with his whims and aspirations and his euphoria to try and capture those votes. So in my view, when you look at the inclination of Deputy Governor Karogo and the position she has taken in the whole national matrix, you realize why then she is being crucified. That any person who has a voice in Mount Kenya must be silenced by all means necessary, so that the people will not be guided in a particular way when it comes to the issues of voting. To the best of my ability, that would be my submissions.
Thank you. Gloria.
I think the argument that the reason why we are placing focus in Mount Kenya is because Mount Kenya does not have or appears to look like it doesn't have a presidential candidate.
Oh, at least you agree for once.
Yeah, but that's, no, I was actually going to say
Okay.
that can't be an argument because Mount Kenya is not the only region in this country. Northeastern does not have a presidential candidate, So, and we have other regions we can actually list. As far as I'm concerned, we have a presidential candidate from Nyanza, from Rift Valley, and Western, Yeah, because also Gideon is in, So there are other regions in this country. Let's not talk as if Kenya is just Mount Kenya and these three regions there. We have Northeastern, they don't have a presidential candidate. We have the Coast region, who's their presidential candidate? How come they are not running up and down and we are not talking about, our votes as Coast region? I think for me, this is just, we're trying to move past the regional politics. We're trying to move past tribal politics. We're trying to move into issue-based politics. But of course, because Mount Kenya has forever been in power, and through the organization of the region, you understand, that has always been their matrix of getting into power, you know, the Mount Kenya vote. So now, because there's a realization that, hey, wait a minute, now we've moved to the issue-based politics, now you can actually stand in Mount Kenya and talk about Hustler Nation and William Ruto, who's from Rift Valley, and you will get good reception, you know. So at the end of the day, there's that panic of, you know, we are so used to tribal politics, we don't know what to do now that we are being presented with the fact that there are actually some Mount Kenya residents who are not going to vote in tribal lines, who are no longer interested in ensuring that Mount Kenya is still in power, who are actually just interested in their economic affairs, and they're looking at the presidential candidates as who is going to take my business or my interests to the next level. So that's the panic that you see. And on the issue of the deputy governor, I think, first of all, if I was ever to be given a chance, if it was just out of, you know, Gloria pick a position. Of course, now I'm vying for Member of Parliament of Obasi constituency.
All the best.
But if I was ever going to be told, now you can have any position that you pick, I would never pick to be a deputy governor because the roles are not defined. The office is so hostile. Any day your governor can wake up and literally practically lock your office and not pay you salaries. I would never pick to be a deputy president, particularly in this time, because again, as you've seen, the roles are not necessarily defined, the autonomy of those, you know, and that's actually what you're seeing happening there with the deputy governor.
So thank you very much, Gloria Roba, youth political analyst, Ndegwa Njiru, constitutional lawyer. Thank you very much for gracing this show. It's been a bit heated, but you know, that's the nature of things sometimes. And I really, really appreciate your time.
Yes.
Asanteni sana. We are going to talk about that other subject off camera, Wakili. But for now,
No, I define what the constitution provides about prostitution, not commercial
sex
workers.
workers.
That is a civil society definition.
We are going to be digging.
That is a civil society definition. It is not a legal definition.
We are going for a break. Asante sana Gloria Roba and Ndegwa Njiru for coming to this show.